In your markets news now, Asian stocks continue their downward trend in today's session following declines in US stocks, with Hong Kong the biggest loser on the day. Market players are expected to be watching discussions closely at the central bank governors meeting at Jackson Hole, where Fed Chair Jerome Powell is expected to speak on Friday. Investors are also said to be concerned about slower growth prospects in China. Investor concerns around the continued appreciation of the yen currency, as well as the political uncertainty that's come with the stepping down of Japan's Prime Minister Fumio Kishida, saw the Nikkei share average end down 0.3%. The Hang Seng Index declined by 0.7%, while the Shanghai Composite Index closed 0.35% in the red. Over in the United States, equities lost momentum after 8 days of gains, particularly for the S&P 500 and Nasdaq, which marked the longest rally of 2024. Despite better than expected economic data and expectations of a Fed rate cut in September, trading volumes were subdued. The Dow Jones Industrial Average fell 0.15%. The S&P 500 lost 0.2%, while the tech-heavy Nasdaq Composite declined by 0.33%. The JSE is trading higher today, with the all-share index adding 0.4% at 84,134 index points. Looking at commodities, gold is trading at $2,508 and platinum at $969 per ounce, while the price of Brent crude is hovering around $77 a barrel. The rand is trading at 17.81 against the US dollar, 23.21 vis-a-vis the pound, and 19.79 against the euro. Well, to unpack the markets for us, I'm joined by Fahima Adia. She's equity analyst at Momentum Securities. A very good afternoon, Fahima. Thanks very much for joining us. So, of course, US markets have been on a winning streak for the past 8 days, but yesterday that came to a halt. Why the pause, do you think?
Afternoon, Nompu. Thanks for having me. Yeah, so I don't think there's been any fundamental shift, I would say. It's probably just, taking a bit of a breather from that very strong rally that we saw on Monday and that rebound we've just been seeing in the tech sector over the past few days. So today the market is waiting for those minutes from the Fed to be released. And of course, all eyes are also on that Jackson Hole speech from Fed Chair Powell that we're expecting on Friday. And we'll just basically be able to get a better idea in terms of the economic outlook for the US and also the outlook on inflation and interest rate cuts. So the market has all eyes on that this week.
Yes. My recollection has been that when we're covering markets, when it's election time in US or electioneering in the United States, the markets are always keeping a very close eye on that. To what extent are markets, looking at what's happening with the US elections?
Yes, I think it's definitely been having an impact on the markets. The market has been looking at that quite closely. And, things have changed quite significantly over the past month now that Kamala Harris has replaced Biden. And we've seen quite a quick shift in terms of the polls and in terms of what people think is going to happen at the election. But it seems her campaign has actually been getting quite a lot of momentum. Despite the differences in the economic agenda, Trump has his agenda, she has her own. But I think the market likes to see that there's some real competition there and that there's some real choice to be made in terms of voting.
Yeah. So here at home, we've had good news in terms of inflation, CPI coming in at 4.6% for the month of July on a year-on-year basis. That should agitate nicely for an interest rate cut in the South African context. But when you look at that and you look at the markets generally here in South Africa, do you think that we're on an upward trajectory given this good news and perhaps other factors like the GNU and so on?
Definitely. I mean, we're seeing our JSE up to over 84,000 points. And I think, like you said, what's impacting that is a number of factors. The GNU, of course, has been really great for investor sentiment. They like to see this. And the other factors that I think have been working in our favor is the fact that the US will be cutting interest rates soon. And they also seem to be expecting a softer landing there, which means that investors are now more open to investing in riskier assets such as our South African equities. And yeah, if we are seeing, the CPI has come down now quite significantly and very close to the Reserve Bank's target mark of 4.5%, which means we'll likely see rate cuts come through soon, and that will also be positive for our markets and our consumer.
Yeah. Help us understand why the gold price keeps on hitting all-time highs. I thought that the gold price didn't do so well when interest rate cuts were imminent.
So actually, it's the contrary. So because gold is a non-yielding asset, it basically does better when interest rates come down because the opportunity cost of holding it is then seen as less. So yeah, I think it's basically the pending rate cuts expected to be good for gold going forward. And I think also just given that gold is seen as a safe haven asset, and there is quite a lot of there's still quite a lot of uncertainty and volatility, I would say, in the markets at the moment. We've got still the conflict in the Middle East, and what also has been benefiting gold is the fact that a lot of central banks have been increasing their gold reserves, such as China recently, which has really also put quite a bit of upward pressure on that price.
So just looking at one stock, Curro, they're the educational group. They came out with their half-year results, reporting that learner numbers were up 0.5%. Their revenue rose nicely, and their EBITDA was up 10.4%. Your thoughts about this particular stock?
Yeah, I think it was quite a good set of results given a very difficult macro backdrop in general. So it's good to see that, the learner numbers are starting to increase and their HEPS have been quite strong. They've also said that they're on track to meet their 700 million rand capex plans to expand their schools, particularly their high schools. They're seeing a lot of demand on that side. If we look at the general performance of this company and their stock, it's shown quite a lot of recovery over the past 3 months. It's up almost 15%. And I think we'll probably see even further improvement once there's interest rate cuts that come through, because the consumer will then be in a better position to enroll their children in more of Curro's schools.
Indeed. Fahima Adia, thank you so much for speaking to us. She's an equity analyst at Momentum Securities.